let's take a look at how to take a photo and fit it into another object here in Photoshop. And in this case, it's going to be a rounded rectangle, but it really could be any object that you want to fit a photo inside of. All right, and it works great for, I find wedding templates, it's real popular to put these rounded corners on just regular old rectangle photos. All right, so let's go ahead and delete this and we'll start from scratch. I'm going to go up to the window menu. I have a couple of images here. And we'll start off with this one. So I need to get it into my design here. So I'll use the move tool, click and drag. You can see it's bigger than it should be. So I'll press Command T or Control T on the PC. And let's just size it down here. It doesn't have to be perfect because we can adjust it later. Now the next thing I do, because I've got my photo inside here, but the next thing I need to do is get the shape that I want my photo to take. Okay, so let's go get the rounded rectangle tool. Up in the top options bar, make sure you click on the shape layers option, and then I'll set the radius to 25 pixels. And that radius is how rounded the edges are. And now I'll just click and drag. And what that does is it creates a rounded rectangle for me. Now the only thing, the problem I've got here is that the rounded rectangle is covering the photo, and I kind of want it the opposite way around. I want to fit the photo into the rounded rectangle. So you need to drag your photo on top of the object that you want to put it inside of. Think about it this way. Whatever you want to see needs to be the topmost layer. Okay? And now all you got to do to fit this photo into the shape right under it is click on the photo layer. Go to Layer, down to Clipping, Create Clipping Mask, and watch what happens. Do you see that? Photoshop took the photo, and what it did is it clipped the edges, clipped the boundaries of that photo, so it only fits in the layer that's directly underneath it right here inside of the Layers palette. You can even see there's a little arrow there. It kind of points downward, and it says, this is the layer I'm being clipped to. So whatever shape this layer takes is what the photo is going to look like, which means that I could always go into Free Transform, and I can change the size of this shape, and I'm not affecting the photo. Notice how the photo stays the same. I'm just affecting the rounded rectangle. I could also click on the photo layer, use my move tool, and move this around independently of the shape underneath it. Notice how it still fits inside that shape. And if I ever need to move both of them, just click on the top one, shift click on the bottom one, and then you can drag that around just like that. Okay, so now let me reiterate here. Let's do this one more time, and I'm going to go ahead and place these into a group just so it's in a nice little folder. So I'm going to press Command G on the Mac and Control G on the PC. So you can see there it is. All right, let's create another one here. We'll do the same thing. Drag a photo inside. Go to my rounded rectangle, and I will create a rounded rectangle just like before. What do we have to do? Got to put the photo on top. So I drag it on top, then go to the layer menu, down to Create Clipping Mask. All right, and I'll show you a little shortcut here. I'll undo. You could always hold down your Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on the PC. And you see when I hold it down, see how my cursor changes between those two layers? Well, if I click, it does the same thing. And now I can just position this right inside here. And again, just like before, I'll select both of those layers and I will group them together. So I can put this one over here. We'll turn this on, and we'll put it over here. How's that? Right over there. Now, if I were to finish this up, if I were to do one more thing to this image, I would go click on the rounded rectangle layer. Okay, either one of them. I'd go to my layer styles menu right at the bottom of the layers palette, and I'd add a drop shadow. And that's going to give you just a little bit of depth and dimension of that photo, but I dropped my opacity down to about 45%, somewhere between 40 and 45. And then, if it were me, and it's not me, it's you, but if I'm doing this, I might add a little bit of a stroke here. Definitely not red, but I change my stroke to white. Maybe bump my size down to 1 or 2 pixels, just depends on how large of an image you're creating, and even drop that opacity down a little bit. And that gives you just, kind of adds a nice little border around the image too. So it gives it some depth, and it adds a little border right around there, so you get a real nice wedding template design. And finally, if you were to go, I have my layers palette here, and I'll just turn on some type layers that I have, because you definitely need some type to fix and fill this up here. So there you go. We can put some text at the bottom. But there you go. That's how to make your photos fit into an object. And you see I used a rounded rectangle here. It doesn't just have to be a rounded rectangle. It could be any shape that you see here in the shape tools, or even one of your custom shapes. It can be any type of shape. Whatever it is, that photo on top is going to be fit inside there. And again, the command is right under the layer menu. It's called Create Clipping Mask.